Hey everybody, this is Andre here with the Kevin Breeze channel, and in this video, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A72 and the Apple iPhone 12. Let's get started. So the Samsung Galaxy A72 has a 6.7-inch 90Hz Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 394, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 84.4%. We got hole punch here for the front-facing camera, and this camera is 32 megapixels. The iPhone 12 has a 6.1-inch OLED display with a resolution of 1170 by 2532, a PPI of 460, an aspect ratio of 19.5:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 86%. We got the front-facing camera right up here, and this camera is 12 megapixels. So overall, the iPhone 12 has a slightly higher resolution than the A72, but at the same time, the A72, as you can see here, is much larger, and it has a 90Hz display, two things that are going to be really good for content consumption. So if you're streaming videos or doing high-performance gaming and stuff like that, the 90Hz display is going to help because it makes the movement on the screen a lot more fluid and smooth. So as you can see here, it scrolls a lot faster versus the iPhone 12. That's still good, but the 60Hz display can only scroll so fast. So that definitely translates to videos and stuff like games as well. But on the other hand, with the higher resolution, the iPhone is going to be a little bit better for viewing things like photos. So if you're taking a lot of photos or doing photo editing on your phone, that's something to keep in mind. Now, the Samsung Galaxy A72 has 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD expansion, and the iPhone 12 has only 64 gigabytes of internal storage with no microSD card expansion. Now, you can get this phone in other variants with 128 or 256 gigabytes, but these are a lot more expensive, and the same point still stands. No microSD card expansion. So in general, the Samsung Galaxy A72 does have an advantage, especially since this specific version of the phone in my hand is the 64 gigabyte version of the iPhone 12. Not only are you getting double the storage with the A72, but you're also getting microSD card expansion. So if you take a lot of photos and videos, really taking lots of videos, especially 4K, but still even 1080p videos, if they're long and if you have a lot of them, you might actually end up using up all your space on this phone. And even then, you can put a lot of it on a microSD card to expand it even more. On the other hand, with the iPhone, that space is just going to run out and you'll have to transfer it off your phone more often. The Samsung Galaxy A72 doesn't have wireless charging, unfortunately, but the iPhone 12 does. So if that's a feature that's important to you, definitely keep that in mind. As far as security goes, the Samsung Galaxy A72 has both Face Unlock and a fingerprint scanner, but the iPhone 12 only has Face Unlock, so that is something to keep in mind, and it's pretty unfortunate that it's like that. It doesn't make any sense at all that a flagship phone like the iPhone wouldn't have a fingerprint scanner, whereas the Samsung Galaxy A72 has both, so it's going to be a lot more convenient. I personally don't want to put in a PIN no matter what, so I definitely prefer a phone with both a fingerprint scanner and Face Unlock over a phone like the iPhone with only Face Unlock. It's pretty annoying to have to use just one thing, whereas with the A72, you can have both activated at the same time, and it's still going to be completely fine. That being said, let's give it a try and see how it performs. As you can see, it is in the display here, which I think looks really good. And that was pretty fast. Let's try it one more time. And there we go, really fast and responsive. I definitely have no problems with it, and it's a lot better than the iPhone that has none at all. Now let's take a look at the rear camera setup of both of these phones. First up, the Samsung Galaxy A72 has a 64 megapixel rear camera, an 8 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So this phone basically has everything you would expect and actually more, because it's not often that you see a non-flagship phone with a telephoto lens, and that's really nice because then you can zoom in and get those really close-up pictures without losing quality. The iPhone 12 has a dual camera setup with a 12 megapixel rear camera and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. These pictures were both taken by each phone's rear cameras. As you can see, They are a little bit different, but it's hard to say one is better than the other. They both have really good quality. Really, the main difference here is each phone has a different way of balancing the lighting and exposure on each picture. So I'll let you be the judge of which one is better. But the main thing to take away from this is the iPhone is a lot more expensive than the Samsung Galaxy A72. But as far as the photo quality goes, it's really not a whole lot different. It's not like the iPhone is significantly better to the point that the A72's photo looks bad. So I wouldn't make a decision in favor of the iPhone just by going off the camera quality, because this is really similar. In addition to the camera quality, the Samsung Galaxy A72 also has a telephoto lens and the iPhone 12 doesn't. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You're not going to be able to get that type of zoom from the iPhone 12 that you will from the Samsung Galaxy A72. And plus, if you're trying to take any close-up pictures at all, the A72 again has a really good advantage. Having not only a macro, but also that telephoto lens. You can either use the macro camera or use the telephoto lens, depending on what you feel like using. You have a lot of different options with the A72 that the iPhone 12 just doesn't have. Now, internally, the A72 is getting 8 gigabytes of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 720G processor, and the iPhone 12 is getting 4 gigabytes of RAM with the Apple A14 Bionic processor. We ran Geekbench 5 benchmark tests on both of these phones, and the A72 came back with a single core score of 553 and a multi-core score of 1657. The iPhone 12 came back with a single core score of 1591 and a multi-core score of 4089. So the iPhone 12 definitely has much more processing power than the A72. It's going to be able to handle a lot more demanding tasks like high performance gaming, video editing, especially if you're converting a large file or working with anything that's really big. It's going to be better on the iPhone 12, but at the same time, there's really not a whole lot that the A72 can't do at all. And having double the RAM of the iPhone 12, it's most likely going to handle multitasking a little bit better. Now, moving on to the battery, the Samsung Galaxy A72 has a huge advantage here with the 5000 mAh battery versus the iPhone 12's 2815 mAh battery. Not only is the Samsung Galaxy A72 going to get more life per charge, but it's also going to have more longevity down the road, and it's going to be able to go longer without wearing out. Now, normally one thing flagship phones like the iPhone have that phones like the A72 that aren't flagship phones don't have is those special features like NFC and dust and water resistance, but the Samsung Galaxy A52 actually has those things. It has NFC so you can use Google and Samsung Pay, and it has dust and water resistance for up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. So you are going to get that extra durability that you typically only find with flagship phones. Now, in conclusion, which one of these devices is better? Since we're comparing a flagship phone to a non-flagship phone, the most useful question isn't really which device is better. Obviously, the iPhone has a lot more features and is a lot more powerful because it's a flagship phone and the A72 isn't. The thing that you can really take away from this comparison is which phone provides more value. And I do think the A72 does provide a lot more value for your dollar than the iPhone 12. Not only are you getting double the storage for a smaller price, but you're also getting a really good amount of processing power that's going to be able to do most things that you want to do. It'll definitely be able to shoot whatever quality videos you want and that sort of thing. And you should probably even be able to play some decent games as well if you're into that kind of thing. And in addition to that, as you saw in that little side-by-side comparison of the cameras, the Samsung Galaxy A72 has a really comparable camera to the iPhone 12, and it has a much bigger battery. It has a much bigger screen, a 90 Hz display that's going to make the movement on the screen a lot better. And not to mention, the battery is almost double the size of the iPhone battery. So at the end of the day, sure, the iPhone might have some better, more fancy features. It might be made of more solid premium materials, but for what you're spending, the Samsung Galaxy A72, in my opinion, definitely provides a lot more value. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.